My name is Rakesh. I'm from the Concierge team, and what I'll be doing is I'll be talking to you as to how you would be able to get from point A, which is not having Zoho One, to point B, that is having Zoho One. That's all there is, right? There's no technical jargon, just basic policies that you should probably follow, and you should be able to get from point A, no Zoho One, to Zoho One. The first thing was that when we started off with Zoho One, we realized that a lot of businesses were trying to solve not one problem, not problems related to marketing, not problems related to sales or accounting or HR management. They wanted to go ahead and solve problems across the organization, right? So that had to have some changes internally as well, because I'm sure you guys would have dealt with pre-sales engineering all along, right? So pre-sales takes your requirements and then it probably processes it and helps you find the answers and helps you solve your problems. So we wanted to have something that's pre-sales, right? The reason why we wanted to do something pre-sales is we wanted to be able to go in and talk to businesses and understand what the businesses wanted to do, understand what the requirement was, and then we wanted to go in and then think about getting all the requirements put in place in a document and then try to solve it. So, and there was no sales push involved, right? So we wanted to be sales independent, right? We wanted to be your consultants. So with that, Concierge came into existence. We started out with just 3 members, and over the past 20 months, we've handled around 10,000 odd businesses. We've spoken to them, we've understood what they wanted, and we've directed them in the right path. So with this, I'm confident to say that, we've zeroed in on this path that should help you, get to Zoho One with the least amount of heartburn, with the least amount of pain. Yeah, there might be some of you who would probably find better, easier ways. It's just that this is tried and tested. I think you should go with it. Saves you a lot of time. Now, once you have found a path, right, the next best thing that you'd want to do with a path is probably break it down to smaller milestones. So I've broken down this particular path to 4 separate milestones. First one is knowing what you want. Second one would be articulating a solution based on what you want, right? Simple. Third one is, getting the buy-in, selling it internally within your organization. And the last one being putting it all together, actually going ahead and doing the implementation. These are the 4 steps, right? So let's take a look at the first milestone here, which is knowing your needs. So any guesses who knows the most about your organization? Who knows the most about what your company needs? It's you guys, right? There has to be, if you are the business owner, probably it's you. Probably if it's a huge organization, it's a couple of stakeholders in the organization. So what you need is, you need to find all these stakeholders. Probably put them in a room, ensure that they don't come out till they tell you what you exactly need, what your company needs to define the right processes. It's difficult to do that, so the easier path would be to have a list. You can go ahead and have a list wherein, I'm sure all of you would have done this at some point of time. Each week that I go grocery shopping, I do this. I know what I want. I really want. I need my greens. I need my sausages, and so on. And you need to have some nice to haves, probably a bottle of wine, right? So similarly, for your software as well, you'd probably know what you want. So these are the key pain areas that you have. Probably your accounting department is going through a lot of pain. That's what should get in there. Probably your marketing, you don't know the ROI of your marketing team. You'd probably want to include it in your must-haves, right? Nice to haves would be your operations are pretty fine. You don't have any ongoing pains there. So probably it's a nice to have to look for improvements in your operations. It's a nice to have. Can live without, probably the next best thing, probably a chatbot, right? To improve, to go to the Gen Z or whatever, right? Next, documentation. Who loves documentation? I've never liked documentation, but the sad part is you need to document your process. The reason why you need to document your process is to know where you are and to know where you want to be. Why is this so important? Imagine if you do not know where you are and you do not know where you want to be. If the delta is so small, it gives you like a 5% benefit? Why do you want to even suffer the pain of evaluating a new software? Why do you want to even look at a new software? Why do you want to change what's there? It's not going to help you. The minute you see that the delta is probably less than 10%, stop the evaluation. You're doing yourself a favor and the company a favor. Just go back to doing whatever you were, right? So the process documentation helps you to let you know where you are and how you're going to be after a specific solution that you're looking for. Lastly, how many of you have ever seen an ER diagram, an entity relationship diagram? So an ER diagram or a schema, right? So it ties everything that's there in the organization. So what's there in your organization? People, right? We've got 7,000 in India. We're still figuring out how all of us, work together, right? So with an ER diagram, what we realize is that people and the assets, it could be IT assets, non-IT assets, a clicker, and Emily, and me, right? So how are all of us integrated, right? How do we come together to ensure that a presentation such as this happens at an event such as Zoho in Austin when all of us are spread throughout the world, right? So that's what we want to do. We want to put all these relationships together in probably a schematic representation so that it's easy, because people like me who can't read, it would be easy. And for people who can and who like documentation, probably if you could have a spreadsheet, you could probably document all that in there. Now, what is the purpose of having all of this? The purpose of having all of this in one place is to ensure that we have a well-defined problem statement, right? And the reason why you need to have a well-defined problem statement is because you need to know what you're trying to fix. If you don't have clarity on what you're trying to fix, there's not a chance in a million that you're going to see the solution, even if the solution stood in front of you, right? Overchoice. Has anyone ever gone to a supermarket and come back with more than what they wanted? So what happens is, as we start looking for solutions, as we start evaluating for solutions, we get awestruck. There are so many things out there. There are such beautiful functions. There are such beautiful features out there that you feel that, this in my organization would give me a lot of value, a lot of returns. But then according to me, you're deviating. Because, initially when you started this exercise, you never needed it. That was not even your pain. So stick to your must-haves. If you find something that's really, really good, put it in your nice-to-haves. Don't put it in your must-haves. Your must-haves are the ones that draw the majority of your time. Ensure that this does not get diluted. You need to ensure that anything other than your must-haves gets pushed down the list. Let's look at the number 2. In milestone number 2, right? So here what we're doing is we are articulating a solution. And based on what are we articulating a solution? It's based on the well-defined problem statement that we've just built out. An interesting tidbit is that before I started doing what I was doing at Zoho One, I was at Manage Engine. So it was a installable division of Zoho, and I've done 50-odd deployments. In majority of the installations that I've done, or configurations that I've done, 70% of my time was done in requirement gathering. So the step 1 took 70% of my time. And if you do the step 1 properly, the rest of it is a breeze. If you do an incomplete requirement gathering, an inconsistent or an incorrect requirement gathering, that means your deployment or your implementation has to be repeated over and over again, due to which you'd be spending a lot more time. So people who document really well, you're blessed. And for people who don't, we just keep repeating stuff, right? So articulating a solution, it's based on what we've just built, based on the requirement document that we've just gone ahead and built. So here, it's pretty simple now. Life is simple. You have a problem statement. You have a sheet of all your must-haves, nice-to-haves. For this, you try to start seeking answers. Now, how many of you here are from a product development background? Have you ever seen a product that shouldn't have been released? That's so glitchy, it shouldn't have seen the light of the day. But why did the organization release that? So we have something called as a minimum viable product. Anything that just barely passes the threshold to be released, we release it. The reason we do it is that if we had to go in and fine-tune every feature or ensure that every feature that's already in there in the market, if we have to go ahead and capture it inside the application, we'd be building forever. So now that we've gone ahead and we've decided, okay, you know what? We need the minimum viable solution. Not everything, just the bare minimum that will cater to the must-haves. Next, probably we go for a well-rounded demo. So at this point of time, you could probably reach out to N number of vendors because you know what you want to see what's out there, so you ask for a well-rounded demo. Now, the reason why you need a well-rounded demo, right, is because a specific organization might be really comfortable with accounting, but another would be really strong in HR practices. But your must-have includes marketing, or your must-have includes sales and marketing, or a CRM in place. So you need to ensure that the demo gives weightage based on your requirements. So whenever you sit inside a demo, ensure that it's personalized. Never go in for a generic demo. Never get inside a demo and tell that, okay, you know what, hit me, right? That's the worst possible way to spend 30 minutes of your life. I'm sure you have better things to do for the 30 minutes of your life. Next, a personal favorite. Most of the time when we start evaluating software for the organization, we forget or we miss this one crucial element, which is to sell it internally. We don't evaluate software to consume ourselves. We ensure that we evaluate software that gets consumed across the organization. And how do we go about doing it? If you remember the ER diagram, the fancy words that I used before, all I wanted to tell you was get your people, get your assets, get your processes in one documentation. And the reason is you'd be able to identify your key stakeholders. If it's the finance, you need to have the CFO to agree on the software. You need to have every employee in that department to agree to what you're going to cater, right? So that's what we're trying to build. Identify your key stakeholders. You need to have your key stakeholders identified across the functions in the organization, because these are the champions that you would need, and these are the champions who will, vouch for the solution within the organization. Keep these guys in loop. At any point of time you make any decisions, you sit through a demonstration, ensure that these guys join you as well, right? So that they know which solution gives them the best in terms of returns. There are some skeptics, right? I just can't take anything on face value. I need to dig a lot more. If somebody tells me that, Tesla is the best electric car out there, I'd probably come up with something like, hey, probably Nissan Leaf. I don't know. I haven't even been in one, but, probably just to be the devil's advocate, right? So I'm sure you'd probably find people in the organization who don't go with the flow. They want something more. They want some more proof. And I completely agree with them. The reason is seeing is believing. So if you could see a proof of concept, if you could see what I'm actually trying to tell, and if you could see this with your own data, that would go miles, right? Now, the best way to be able to go ahead and build your own prototype with your own data in it would be to migrate data. Migration of data is crucial. I'll tell you why. Let's say you look at a software, you like it a lot, and then you decide, okay, I'm going for it. You haven't tested it with your own data, you haven't migrated any software. What happens is, during the actual implementation, you realize whatever data that you've exported, when you try to import, there are some incompatibilities, there are some inconsistencies. So what does it leave you? It leaves you with an incomplete solution. That's not what you want. That's not where you want to be. So migrate some sample data. Probably take out all the sensitive information. Get this data out. Try to do an import. See how it goes. Finally, putting it all together. So in terms of an implementation plan, everybody tells you one thing. That is, break it down to simple, smaller pieces so that you can address it. Why do we tell this? Is when you break it down, you'd be able to see results then and there. So, probably you break it down small enough that every week you'd be able to see something out of it. And you'd see how this change affects the organization, how this change affects a group of people, right? People are responding positively, you go ahead and make a new change. People are not. Probably you need to stop. You need to see if they need some training. You need to see if something can be tweaked, changed so that they are happy about it, right? That's what your minimum viable solution would help you with. Breaking into phases, all of us know. Now, let me tell you a crucial thing about breaking it into phases, right? When you break it into phases, you'd know before you even start that you need to have a fallback mechanism. Plan for the worst, right? What if this implementation that you're trying to do does not go through? What if you're trying to do a mail migration? You want to move your mail from point A to point B. What if it fails in between? What if you're stranded, right? As per the document, as per the person in India talking to you over the phone, it should happen in an hour. What if it doesn't? And it's probably Friday 6 and you have plans for the rest of the weekend. You don't want to be in that spot. So you probably do a test before to see how much time it takes to come back to normalcy so that you can go back to the dinner, go back to the club that your friends are waiting for, and you go back to your life. That's what breaking into phases means. You'd probably break it into phases so that, you have small steps, so you fall small, right? Now so these are the 4 steps, right? These were the 4 milestones that I was talking to you about. So is this it, right? There must be something that I have to tell you guys, right? So where do we fit in here? There must be some reason that I'm standing here, and the reason is to tell you that at Zoho, we have teams dedicated to help you at each and every point of this. So Concierge, as a team, what we try to do is we try to help you with the requirement gathering, which I told you is like the crux of any implementation. You need to go in and you need to get everything pinned down, right? So we go talk to all your businesses and try to understand what you're after and try to help you put data in a structured format. So what we understood after talking to like 10,000 odd businesses is that everybody wants data in a structured format. Nobody wants it in a document. They want it in something like this that they could probably take it from us, or they could probably build it out and they could give it to other organizations, other business consultants, other process consultants, and they'd understand it in a minute. So we do this for you guys. We would talk to you guys and we try to come up with this so that it becomes easy. Let's say you are not interested in Zoho. Probably you could take this to some of our competitors and do it. We don't mind that because we are not dependent on the sales numbers. Sales guys are, pre-sales guys are, not concierge. So you guys are good. Workflows, right? So we know what your requirements are. So we'd probably push this in, sneak it in. So we tell you, we'll give you a bird's eye of, how your organization is set up, how the data flows, how the control flows in your organization, and tell you, if you see on the right-hand side, which Zoho product would help you, right? That's our pitch. If you like it, you could go for it. If you don't, well, you have the BPM. You could probably look at other alternatives. Now, the next step, right? You want a demonstration. You want that well-rounded demo wherein you want to personalize it. You want a prototype. You want a POC. You want somebody to come and help you build with your data. The pre-sales team can do it. Now, let's say you've made the decision. You've gone ahead and you've bought Zoho. Somebody should help you onboard, right? You're right at the doorstep. Somebody needs to, smile at you and tell that, hey, why don't you come on in and we'll show you the ropes. Onboarding will help you find where you need to be, which are the applications you'd probably cater to you best, or if there's something missing, they are the ones who'd be able to point out to you. Now, if there are any lazy people in this room other than me, you'd be interested in this. Partners, you don't want to lift a pen, you don't want to do anything. You just want to concentrate on your core business. You want somebody to come in, find your requirements, document it for you, do all the vetting process, implement it, probably give you a printed document that you could file it in your filing cabinet. These guys would do it. But there must be somebody who, would act as a centrifugal force. and they are the account managers. They definitely work for you guys and ensure that you get the best support possible. They ensure that they put you to concierge, they ensure that they put you to the pre-sales team so that they get the demonstrations and so on, right? So these guys are the ones that you'd be able to reach out to, and bam, you'd be able to get everything sorted out. So this is how you'd be able to go from not having Zoho One to having Zoho One with the least amount of pain, right? So with that, I'm done.